3 p.m. here in Cairo, time for the news bulletin. My name is Amal Mukhtar. I have all the pleasure to be accompanied with my colleague Sarah Scheme. Hello, Sarah.
Hello, Amal. Thank you. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Now we will start our news bulletin with the headlines. President al-Sisi inaugurates the 8th summit and launches cooperation initiatives. And U.S. Secretary of State calls for an inclusive government in Syria that addresses security concerns.
Welcome back. The news in detail. President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi today announced the launching of a number of initiatives for boosting cooperation among developing nations to help them face the accelerating political and economic global challenges. The president made these remarks as he addressed the opening session of the 11th summit of the 8th Organization for Economic Cooperation hosted by Egypt in the new administrative capital. President al-Sisi noted that developing countries face grave challenges which hamper the realization of its people's aspirations in development and prosperity, the most prominent of which is rising poverty and unemployment rates, particularly among youths. Thus, the president asserted that concerted efforts are needed to combat such challenges by enhancing cooperation among developing nations through joint development projects and initiatives in key sectors. Ahead of the inaugural session, the head of state received the rotating presidency of the summit from Bangladesh. The summit is held under the title Investment in Youth, Support of Small and Medium Projects Towards Shaping Future Economy. It was attended by representatives of the D8 member states, Egypt, Turkey, Nigeria, Pakistan, Iran, Indonesia, Malaysia and Bangladesh, along with regional and international institutions and organizations.
Addressing the summit, Secretary General of the D8 Organization for Economic Cooperation, Abdel Qadir today stressed the organization's pivotal role in supporting the food security file among its member states. He also hailed the D8 backing for youth, providing them with work opportunities.
Meanwhile, the United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres took part in the D8 summit via video conference. The UN chief hailed the attendees given their unprecedented support for the war-stricken Gaza Strip. He also stressed the necessity of implementing the two-state solution being the only means of ending the Arab-Israeli conflict and serving the Palestinian people's interests.
In remarks at the summit, Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas said that an immediate implementation of the UN Security Council resolution number 2735 on a Gaza ceasefire was imperative now. He cited the continued Israeli occupation, massacres, genocidal acts, starvation and forced evacuation of the Palestinian people. The Palestinian leader called for the unhindered and unconditional access of humanitarian aid into war-torn Gaza and the complete Israeli withdrawal from the Strip and the post-war Strip run by the Palestinian Authority.
Israeli occupation forces conducted an airstrike this morning on the northern Gaza Strip, leaving at least 18 Palestinians martyred and scores wounded. Separately, 3 Palestinians were martyred and others were wounded in drone attack over Al-Zuhr neighborhood, northern Palestinian Rafah city in the south of Gaza Strip. The occupation force
The Human Rights Watch accused the Israeli occupation forces of committing acts of genocide in the Gaza Strip by damaging water infrastructure and cutting off supplies to civilians. In a new report which focused specifically on water, the New York-based rights group detailed what said were deliberate efforts by the Israeli occupation authorities of a systematic nature to deprive Gazans of water, which had likely caused thousands of deaths and will likely continue to cause death. The report concluded that in doing so, the occupation authority intentionally inflicted on the Palestinian population in Gaza conditions of life calculated to bring about its physical destruction in whole or in part. The HRW said that these amounted to the war crime of extermination and to acts of genocide.
Yemen's Houthi group have claimed today a missile attack against Tel Aviv, which coincides with strikes by the Israeli occupation forces on key infrastructure in Yemen, including ports and energy facilities. The Houthi group said it had targeted two specific and sensitive military targets in Tel Aviv with ballistic missiles. Also, the Israeli occupation forces launched a series of airstrikes across Yemen's western coast, striking power stations, oil facilities and a port in Hodeidah, killing 9 people and injuring others.
Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan has said that his country and Lebanon would work together on Syria, adding that Ankara and Beirut must act together as two important neighbors of Syria. Erdogan told a news conference alongside Lebanese Prime Minister Najib Mikati in Istanbul that the stability of Syria means the stability of the region, adding that reconstruction of the country on their borders would be their priority. To rebuild Syria, Erdogan said that this is a critical period in which Turkey and Lebanon need to act with unity, solidarity and mutual reconciliation.
Turkey has rejected U.S. President-elect Donald Trump's claim that Ankara made what he described as the unfriendly takeover of Syria. Turkish Foreign Minister Hakan Fidan said it would be incorrect to characterize Turkey as the power that would rule Syria in the end. He reiterated that cooperation is very important in this period, saying it is not Turkish domination, not Iranian domination, not Arab domination, but cooperation should be essential.
U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken called on Syria's Hayat Tahrir al-Sham to follow through on promises of inclusion, saying it can learn a lesson from the isolation imposed on Afghanistan Taliban. Blinken also called for an inclusive Syrian government that includes all the country's sects and addresses security concerns, including keeping the fight against Daesh terrorist group and removing lingering chemical weapons stockpiles. Earlier, UN Special Envoy Geir Pedersen, addressing reporters in Damascus, voiced hope for free and fair elections in Syria.
Well, Ukrainian Air Force said today that Russia have launched 85 drones to attack Ukraine overnight, of which 40 imitator drones did not reach the targets and 45 others drones were shot down.
Separately, Ukraine struck Russian territory with at least 13 missiles and 84 drones, triggering a fire at an oil refinery in the southern Rostov region that burned for hours. The details are in the following report.
Russia announced today that a massive Ukrainian drone and missile attack sparked a fire at an oil refinery in southern Russia overnight. The fire at the refinery, which is 10 kilometers from the international border with Ukraine but 200 kilometers from the nearest Ukrainian positions, lasted for more than 6 hours. Kiev has struck several Russian energy facilities throughout the early 3-year conflict, saying the hits were fair retaliation for Moscow's large-scale attacks on its own electricity grid. Russia's defense ministry said Ukraine fired a total of 84 drones towards its territory overnight. It said 36 were destroyed over the rest of the region, which borders Ukraine and is the military headquarters for Moscow's offensive. Russia's border regions are frequently targets by the Ukrainian aerial attacks, and both sides have escalated their bombardments over the last few months. Also today, Russia claimed to have taken control of 2 new villages in eastern Ukraine near the industrial town of Kurakov, which is one of the brink of capturing. Moscow has been advancing in East Ukraine for months, pressing its advantage against overstretched and outgunned Ukrainian soldiers, and has claimed new villages almost daily this month. The nearly 3-year conflict has escalated sharply in recent months, with Kiev deploying U.S. and British-supplied long-range missiles in attacks on Russian soil, and Moscow firing an experimental hypersonic weapon at Ukraine in response.
Welcome back. The economy news as Egypt's bourse edged lower at the start of the weekend session amid sell-offs on different shares by local Arab and foreign investors. The market capital of listed companies reached £2.217 trillion amid transactions of nearly £21.2 billion. The benchmark index EGX 30 fell 0.43%. The equal-weighted indices EGX 70 and EGX 100 climbed 0.86% and 0.71% respectively.
Welcome back, and now we are moving to the sports sector. The Egyptian national football team placed 33 in the December 2024 FIFA World Ranking announced by the football governing body. The Pharaohs came in the 3rd place in Africa after Morocco and Senegal. Meanwhile, Argentina maintained its position as the top-ranked team globally, followed by France and Spain.
Well, with this, ladies and gentlemen, we come to the end of the news bulletin. My name is Amal Mukhtar. I had all the pleasure to be joined with my colleague, Sarah Slim. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you, Amal. It was a pleasure to be with you today. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for watching, and stay tuned for the coming updates on the top of the hour. Thank you.